Hey guys, it's Harley, and today I'm going to be doing a much requested video all about how I care for and keep my polka dot plants looking nice and happy. These plants do have fairly simple care needs. It's just a matter of perfecting those needs, as these plants are very dramatic, so even the slightest change to their needs or your care routine, they kind of act up. So that's just something to keep in mind if your plant seems unhappy. If your plant looks unhappy, then go ahead and try some of these things to see if you can revive it. If you have any questions, any comments, really anything, please leave them in the comments section down below. I try to respond to everybody's comments and I really appreciate your input and feedback. So anyway, let's just get into it. Okay, so first things first, polka dot plants do prefer bright indirect light. That's not to say that they don't do well in low light conditions as well. I talked about that in my last video. I have mine in a low light situation and it has done extremely well. Being in a low light situation means that you need to water the plant less, which means, I don't know, it's just easier to manage in my experience. So like this plant here, this polka dot plant here, I have in kind of a dark corner where it doesn't get too much light, and as you can see, the foliage is extremely bright and the pattern is very pronounced. That's because it's not receiving too much light. If your polka dot plant receives too much light, then the pattern is going to fade. On the flip side, if your plant isn't getting enough light, it's going to become leggy. This plant I just trimmed. I will actually insert some clips of me trimming the plant and give you some tips and tricks on how to do that and when to do that and where to do that, and all of the good stuff. So this guy is freshly trimmed. Trimming it is actually really good for it. Anyway, you should do this whether it's getting leggy or not, because it promotes bushier growth. So anywhere that you trim the top of the plant, anywhere that you trim the plant, 2 more stems are going to grow out of that, which means a lot more leaves and a lot bushier growth. As you can see, my plant is really full and very, very happy. So that is something to keep in mind as far as light goes. So in my research upon buying this polka dot plant, I did see that most places say to keep the plant moist. I do agree they prefer to stay moist, but for me, it just makes more sense for me to err on the side of caution and water less frequently. The amazing thing about this plant is that if it's thirsty, it really, really wilts. Like, it'll wilt, I swear. You'll look at it 1 second, then you'll look at it the next second, and it's wilted. It happens very quickly. But once it's wilted, if you water it within a couple days, then it'll bounce right back and perk right back up. So I just find that best. I have overwatered one of these in the past. I've kept the soil moist like everywhere says to, and the roots all rotted. So for me, I say let the soil completely dry out and wait for the plant to wilt a little bit before you water it. That way you aren't going to have to worry about root rot. And really the plant bounces back. This doesn't have any negative effects on the plant. So I say to do it that way, in my opinion. I actually really enjoy seeing the plant wilt, then watering it, and watching how quickly the plant gets back to normal. It's like crazy. Maybe I'll do like a time lapse or something. That would be really cool. Along those same lines is feeding the plant. So here is another area where I feel people go wrong. This plant is not a heavy feeder, but it obviously does need some sustenance. So what I have found is to extremely dilute my food fertilizer. This is the one I use, you're seeing on the screen now. What I do is I just pour it into this little saucer cup thing. I just pour a few, well, I pour like a little bit into there, and I mix the rest of it with water. So it's extremely diluted, and I feed my plant that. I don't really measure or anything like that. I just kind of eyeball it. But if you're a measurer, then go ahead and measure out exactly what the bottle says, and then like quarter that or even eighth it. So they don't like a lot of food. If you're feeding them too much too quickly, then the leaves you're going to see start to get crispy on the tips. That's actually from being overfed. So I don't know if in these clips you're going to be able to see. There's a difference between a leaf that's been placed in too close of light to a leaf that has been over fertilized. So if you over fertilize, don't worry too much. You can just chop the leaf off and move on from there. It's really easy to do, and then just tweak your measurements for next time you feed the plant. I feed mine every couple of months, and that seems to be doing well. If you see a little bit of a discolored leaf on the tip there, then go ahead and even further dilute your feeding solution. I will say really quickly that the plant food I give these plants that I'm showing in the video reeks, but my plants have really loved it more than any other plant food I have given them. So I'm going to take one for the team and continue using this plant food that I honestly think smells so disgusting. A dog ate a bowl of fruit and then instantly threw it back up. Like I said, the plants love it, so it's worth it to me. And then really quickly, I wanted to touch on propagation of the polka dot plant. These do propagate super easily. So what I'll do is, like I said before, I'll go in and trim the tips of the plants when they start to get a little leggy and bare leafed, and I will pull off the bottom few leaves at the node. Usually I try to pull off about 4 leaves. That leaves 2 nodes empty plus the very base of the plant, and I'll just stick that right into water and stick it in bright indirect light. I have it on a west facing window so it gets adequate lighting without being too much and without burning the leaves. And I have found that it takes about a week and a half to 2 weeks for roots to start to form. Usually they form through the very base where you cut the plant, and then they start to come in on the nodes. So, I mean, the more nodes you show, the better. Just make sure that you actually have leaves on top to pull in the light from the windows. So I really hope you found this video helpful. Let me know what you thought of it in the comment section down below. Also, let me know any video requests or things like that you may have. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next one. Bye!